Start. So we are now recording. So again, thank you everybody. Welcome. My name is Matt Latham. I'm a co-chair of the Member Services Committee. Root for that. Today we have a topic that I think is very poignant and has a lot of thoughts for it. So well, let's just jump right in. We have two guest speakers today who have experience with both Baker and Taylor and Ingram, which is our topic today, our two major companies for sourcing books and materials for your library and working with them, the challenges, the benefits, and everything in between. And like I said before, please, we'll have a couple of minutes, that they're going to talk and give a little information. And then we have questions that were sent in too. We'll try to get to those. And then we'll also hope that afterwards, we'll open it up to anyone who has wants questions or wants to offer their own experiences or things that they have been doing at your library to work with Baker and Taylor and Ingram. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our guest speakers. We have Aaron from Woodwidge and
Woodridge? Woodwidge?
I know. I need to have more coffee or less coffee. Uh, it's one of those.
Oh, man. Also known as Aaron from Woodridge, co-chair of the Member Services Committee with Matt. So that's why I got to make fun of him all the time. It's pretty much my duty. It's my job.
Yes, exactly. So, and let me just, sorry, I'm just bringing up my other piece here. And let's see. And from Livingston, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Jessica Voico. I'm from Livingston. I'm the head of adult services and acquisitions.
All right, thank you. And let's get started. So I will turn it over to you to take it from here.
Jessica, do you want to start or you want to go second?
Sure, so I could talk a little bit. So we at Livingston, we primarily use Baker and Taylor. We get all of our items fully processed through them. We also started leasing items, like popular titles, through Baker and Taylor. It's our second year of leasing. We did set up an account with Ingram. Um, I'd say shortly after the pandemic, supply still isn't great, but it was definitely worse than it is now, which caused us to set up an account with Ingram. But because we get all of our materials fully processed, we just kind of stuck it out with Baker and Taylor, and we use Ingram as like a backup account. Um, yeah. So that's primarily what we do in Livingston.
Okay, so here in Woodridge, we're now primarily an Ingram customer. We were Baker and Taylor when I started in 2020, and like you, during the pandemic, we had major issues. Our Baker and Taylor issues were more actually related to the condition of the books than the street dates and so on. So we would get boxes that looked like they had been kicked down a hallway. We'd get books that were damaged and things like that. And when I reached out to one of the reps, tried to gaslight me. He was like, that didn't happen. And I was like, oh, look at all these pictures. So fun. So we did the onboarding process with Ingram, and I actually have reached out to them to answer some of the questions that you guys have submitted, which we'll get to in a little while. In the meantime, I just kind of wanted to show you what the onboarding looks like, especially if you're going to go from Baker and Taylor all the way processed to Ingram all the way processed, because that's how we have our books too. That's cool with you, Jessica? I feel like we should have probably talked about this before,
Yeah,
but
that's fine. Go for
here we are now. Isn't that grand?
it.
Okay, so here is, let's see. So here's a few things. This is the price agreement from 2024 that Ingram has. Can everybody see that okay? Yeah, okay. If you can't, you got to let me know. Um, so as you can see, there is the discounts are similar to Baker and Taylor, and there are additional discounts. And I'll be sending this out to you guys so that you don't have to sit here and try to read it while we're in a meeting. The freight terms are a little bit different. You have to hit a certain minimum in order to get free shipping, but we usually do, no problemo. And then I just want to show you the fast lane. So this is the information that we gave to them to create our account so that we could have fully processed items. And as you can see, it's pretty much just a form fillable PDF. But what you do is you go in and you show them exactly like what you want your labels to look like. So we're biog, first 3 letters, no additional author. So it's time consuming. And if you liked taking the SATs, if you liked Scantron tests, this is going to be your favorite thing on earth. If you're like me and you're like a little ADHD queen, it's going to be a little tough. But what I did was I just printed it out, filled it out in pen, and then put it into Adobe because that's how my brain works. But as you can see, I mean, it's very, very comprehensive. So you have all of these different pieces to it. You can catalog things not only in Dewey, but in Library of Congress. I know we don't typically use that. I just thought it was interesting in terms of having had worked in an academic library. I was like, oh, I do kind of love that a little bit. And then you choose all your offsets, you give them copies of your barcodes, and they're able to print your barcodes on their items. So basically, it's like a craftbot style, like set it and forget it. I've had nothing but good experiences with Ingram's customer service, but like everyone else, I've had trouble getting books on their street date. So that's kind of like a middle of the ground thing. But the books that I do receive, thankfully, are in good shape. So there is that. So I'm going to stop sharing now. So that's like a little overview of how I got over to Ingram. And what I like is the customer service, and what I don't like is the books coming late. So one of the things, like I said, I did was I asked them, like, what is taking so long to fill orders? And basically they're like, it's kind of the publishers, it's kind of this, it's kind of that. Ever since COVID, there's just been back order problems, and automatically yours, which is what they call it in B&T, or standing order, which is what they call it in Ingram, are like difficult to be getting before the pub date. They really didn't give me quite a great answer to this, but I do have the contact info for the 2 reps that I work with, and I will share that in the chat and also in the follow-up email. So there is that. So that being said, we have quite a few questions that were asked before we got here. Yay. So the first one on the list was, how does Ingram base its ship fees? And this is the answer straight from the horse's mouth, if that's okay. Like, I don't know if you guys, anybody have questions or want to like pop in. Like, this is very informal. Like, you don't have to just listen to me talk. Okay, no questions. All right, cool. Shipping terms vary depending on whether your library has a contract with Ingram or a state contract. Our library has what's called Ingram paid freight eligible terms. Basically, the shipping charge will either be $3 or $9, depending on how many items are shipped. But if you go above 15 items, you'll only be charged the $3, and that's just a fuel surcharge because fuel prices are nuts. So, let's see. The second question was, are there written instructions for navigating the site? So I'm not sure if that was supposed to be for Ingram or for Baker. Ingram.
Ingram.
It was Ingram. Okay. Hi. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So they don't have an updated user guide, but they do have a user guide. And the reps are happy to schedule a demo with anybody, whether you're a customer currently or a prospective customer. There's also something called iPage Academy, which has all of their online education hubs on demand. And I will say that personally, this is just me, but I find iPage to be easier to use than Baker and Taylor, just in a general way. If you don't, that's okay. I think it has to do with people being like web native. So like Baker and Taylor for me just always, it like overwhelms my eyes basically. And iPage, I think, is just put together a little differently, not better or worse, just differently. So if you have questions about that, you can 100% reach out to the reps whose contact info I'm going to give you, and they can run you through a little demo to kind of get the most out of iPage. Now you look soups mad. So is there something specific that you're having trouble with? Oh, you gotta unmute. It's okay. It's a little microphone guy. All right. Yep.
I've used Baker and Taylor for 100 years. I know it backwards and forwards, so I'm very comfortable with that because of I'm sorry I'm late, but I had trouble getting in.
You're fine. You're fine.
I just find iPage, it's like monochromatic. It's not as easy to, go from a cart and then they go, which cart do you want to add it to? And I've never had any kind of tutoring, and it's not user friendly as far as being instinctive.
Okay. So what I would definitely suggest is reaching out to the rep for a demo because it can
I
be
did.
user friendly, I find. And if that didn't work for you, I'm happy to work with you one-on-one if you want. If you want to just shoot me an email, I will run you through it with me. So that way you can kind of get it from
Is there
a
any way
librarian.
I work for, well with, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's, on a piece of paper. And once I get through it, I'm fine.
So you
It's
just want
just
a
setting
list
up
of like
the,
how to use it? Yeah, I can.
yeah,
I think I might actually have that documentation already done for my staff. So let me look through it and I will send it right to you.
thank
Okay.
you. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the third question was, why does it take B&T so long to fill orders? Now, this is Ingram talking. They were like, we're not really sure, but it's been an ongoing issue. She said for anyone that's interested, they would be happy to, if you want to send a list of ISBNs to see what's on hold, what they can ship immediately. What I heard from Baker and Taylor, both at ALA and NJLA, was essentially that since the New Jersey warehouse had closed, the ship times were longer, which isn't great, honestly. And it's not a great, it's the right word, it's not a great way to like offer customer service, basically. So I'm not 100% sure. So if anybody has more clarity on
I
that,
could
like,
jump in a little bit here.
yes, Jessica,
So I meet
please.
with our Baker and Taylor rep about once a month. We probably only meet for like 10 minutes, but what she told me was that it was with publisher negotiations that they've been ongoing and working with and trying to negotiate, and that's why there was a delay in certain titles. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I was told.
I mean,
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
yeah, that tracks in what we've been being
yeah,
told. But I mean, you get to a point where you're like,
yeah.
man, wouldn't it be nice if we could just get the book on the date that it's
So if
out?
there's something that we know that's really popular that we need a lot sooner, we will try to order it elsewhere. We've been ordering some titles. They come unprocessed, but bookshop.org, which pairs you up with a local bookseller, and they come pretty quick. So if you don't care about
Yeah,
processing, that could be like a good supplement.
we've actually been using Amazon as our backup. And
Mhm.
at ALA, I spoke to an Amazon rep, and they are actually opening a library arm, which I'm very interested. I have their contact info. Did not get a chance between ALA and now to like reach out and get them to talk to us, but I'm interested to see how that would work because Ingram actually also supplies Amazon. So, but because Amazon is more customer focused rather than institutionally focused, you get your stuff quicker because they're looking to just like churn. They're just trying to make the churn happen. So interesting. And also I've heard good things about Brodart. There's some things out there that I feel like are, it's like we're trying to decide between Coke and Pepsi, and some of these guys are RC Cola. You know what I mean? It's kind of that like name brand thing. Um, So the fourth question we had was, why aren't emails sent to the person ordering the books when an item is canceled? The Ingram answer was that we don't notify customers directly, but it shows up in your report. Ingram, thank you, Matt. Yes, promotion from Amazon. We will be checking that out. The emails. So Ingram sends you a reports page every month that you can click on and see what's been back ordered, what's been canceled, what's, out of stock, whatever you want to look at, I guess. And I believe Baker does something
Yeah,
very
they,
similar,
they do
if
the
I
same
recall
thing.
correctly. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So unfortunately, I just don't think they have the ability to send direct emails. So you just have to keep an eye on your reports. But I mean, reports, baby. They're so boring, but we got to keep an eye on them. The fifth question, why are items marked back ordered after just releasing? And this goes back to what Jessica was saying about the publishers. That's what they're giving me here. There's not much we can do about that. Not much they can do about it either. It seems, I don't want to say that people are speaking out of school or whatever, but it seems like a lot of this is like we're playing a little game of like table tennis. Like, whose fault is it? Not mine. Is it yours? Not mine. So it's kind of amorphous. So the reason for that is question marks. Sorry. 6, why are automatically yours titles arriving after street date? Same as above is kind of the answer. Ingram, it does work really well in some ways with Baker. Like you can transfer all your AYs over to standing orders if you want to, if you decide to go over to them, but it's the same answer basically. It's the publishers. Unless Jessica, do you have any other insight,
No,
right?
that's my
Yeah, girl,
answer.
our publishers, man. 7 was again along the same vein. Why are titles ordered months in advance, arriving after street date? Same answer basically. Ingram does offer a program called Street Smart for certain titles that ships out 1 to 3 weeks ahead of the pub date. I'm sorry, my brain just was like, "Bleep, we're done, no more." And you can sign up for that. Sometimes there's delays. You should get your orders in ahead of time, basically, is what they're saying, but we frequently do. I know I'm constantly ordering 3 months out. So is Arlene, who I think is actually in the chat today. She's my adult services person. I love her. So honestly, again, it's the publishers. I just saw, how does Ingram charge for shipping? I can send you their shipping list, but the shipping price agreement, I will just go over one more time real quick. Orders of 15 or more units only pay the flat fee. So if you had to pay for shipping for one item, it's because it wasn't a large order. It makes more sense for them to ship flat fees if it's bigger orders. So, let's see. And this is the last question we had from the oh God, why can't I brain today? This is the last question that we had from the list that we got from you guys before we started this. So, how often are items ordered from Ingram back ordered past their initial street date and or canceled before fulfillment? She says cancel before fulfillment very infrequently. When it happens, it's usually an issue with the publisher moving the pub date or the system flagging a title incorrectly. She said there are some occasions where we just miss it, unfortunately, because we're human beings. And I'm like, yeah, girl. Not often, but sometimes there are delays in the warehouse, and the ones that they have had recently are in part related to the issues with B&T. There's been a massive spike in orders over the last 9 months that they're continually hiring more warehouse staff to keep up with demand. But having said that, our delays are always short term. I'm using big quotes, guys. And we have suggestions to work around them when they do come up. So again, it's a little bit passing the buck. It's a little bit the publishers. It's a little bit the warehouse. It's a little bit this, a little bit that. It's one of those things that I don't think anybody has a ton of control over at the moment. And, you know, I personally like Ingram better than B&T, but it's a personal choice like anything else you're doing at your library, I think, and if you've been working with B&T for 100 years and you're happy camper with them, girl, go on. This question just came up in the chat. Does anyone have experience with juvenile nonfiction on Ingram? I find everything with B&T is immediately back ordered for nonfiction series. Juvenile nonfiction, man, holds a place in my heart. I was a children's librarian for many years before I became a director, and nonfiction series are just hard to get your hands on sometimes, especially if it's something like pretty solid, like the states or the presidents. A lot of the times these things get published, the publishers provide so many copies to each, distributor, and then like you can't get it once you lose, somebody loses George Washington and then you're out. You can't get the same George Washington. We haven't had very, very hard experiences with the J nonfic on Ingram. My children's librarian doesn't tend towards the series just because we have space issues. We're a farmhouse, as you can clearly see by my closets. And so we don't have the space for large scale series, but I'm sure that we could look into that. I could probably stalk iPage for you and kind of figure out what's up. All right, so all that being said, sorry for taking up so much of your time. Does anybody have questions, comments, concerns? All right, we have Risa. With the difficulty of navigating B&T, do you think it's worth switching to Ingram for ease of ordering? We would not be having our books processed by either company. Okay, girl, first of all, why? Why not get your books processed? Oof. Oof. Unless you have like mad staff that are just like able to do it, why I don't, but okay, I got you, girl. It's fine. I again personally like Ingram's setup better, and I'm happy to like roll through that with you and just like go over like what the carts look like and stuff if you want to personally. Other people like Baker and Taylor. It's what they're used to. My least favorite thing is to not change something just for the sake of not changing something. But if you do find it easier to use, then by all means, I mean, stay with what you know if you want to. I find it easier, more web native. It's still kind of a poop show, if you will, just because the nature of the beast. I mean, there's so much that needs to go into how everything is indexed and cataloged and taken care of that you are going to have more options than like a normal Barnes and Nobles or Amazon or anything like that. So it's really personal preference. And your staff loves processing. Can you send them over here, girl? My God. My staff is like, we get like 2 books that are unprocessed and they're like, oh my God, what do we do? How do we do it? I mean, they're lovely and they get it done, but I'm just like, not a job I would want. I would cry. I'm not very good at putting on sticky covers at all. All right. Lisa, are they good at wrapping books? I need someone to teach my staff. All right, this has kind of become like Risa's staff is gonna now teach everyone how to process. So hope you're cool with that, Reese.
We can have a little learning session over at the library. They are amazing. No bubbles, no, they're just ridiculous.
Okay, so that might be
Come on
something to
over.
set up. I'm like, this is
We'll do a
great.
staff training.
Yeah. This is Amy from Hawthorne. For those that either use B&T or Ingram and use the other as a backup, is there a minimum amount of money you need to spend yearly to keep your account? I can answer this from the Ingram to B&T side. We still have our B&T account. We never use it anymore, but it's still in effect. If we did need it for something, we can use it. And I actually had reached out to them to ask about that. And they were like, well, we're sad to see you go. And I was like, okay, well, my books look like they got kicked. So, but yeah, for B&T, I know for a fact that you don't need a minimum. Jessica, you said you guys have an Ingram
Yeah,
account that you use as backup.
yeah, we don't use it often, and I've never heard of there needing to be a minimum, and it's still active.
Yeah.
So
So that's pretty good because, you know, if you don't want to use something, don't use it. Right? But you can still have my money if you need it. Any other questions, gang? Don't be shy now. Now that we've commandeered Reese's whole staff. So that's cool.
Well, I
This
wonder
is
if anyone,
Lori
oh, go ahead.
from Hillsdale chiming in. Hi, sorry about that. So we've been having ongoing problems ourselves here in Hillsdale. We have 3 different people that order adult fiction, adult nonfiction, and then children's materials and teen. So we try to do Baker and Taylor, but we weren't getting the titles. Everything was going on back order. So at this point, what we're doing, and we've moved a lot of it over to Ingram. We've fought the battle learning how to use iPage. We've got that down, and now we're just trying. Yesterday, I was sitting down ordering a whole bunch of books, and my process is check it in Baker and Taylor, see what it is, how many in stock. Go to Ingram, see how many in stock, and then if I'm not getting anywhere, then my third page is Amazon, and I have all 3 up on my screen, and I'm just checking. I'm checking pricing. And yesterday I ordered from all 3. So it's I think it's just the nature of the beast right now, what we're facing. We get our books non-processed also. We do also have a staff that loves to do it and is amazing at it. So for us, it's just that constant, okay, now I have to check 3 things. So it's much more time consuming, but we're getting our books, not always on street date, but we're getting our books.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately right now just part of it. When I'm ordering, I'm kind of doing the same thing. I've got different tabs open, checking back and forth. I wish I had like an answer to that of like, you should just do X. Like, I wish there was like a comparison tool that we could just use as a plugin or something. I'm sure there has to be something, but regardless, that's, pipe dreams. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's about right. That sounds about right to me. So yikes. Ack, as Kathy would say. Whew. All right. All right. So we have another question. Oh, well, first of all, Amy also processes all her stuff and can certainly also teach. I feel like we should get all of the people who are good at processing and all the people who are bad at it together, because I feel like it would be like 2 way different circles. I think that would be fun. Okay. We have another question. On B&T, we find that occasionally we order the same book but in different formats as a mistake. This is coming because B&T doesn't do it by title, but by title and format. So when we're ordering so far in advance, duplicates occur. Does Ingram have a better way of telling you that you already ordered the title no matter the format? The short answer is no. The longer answer is that I believe there is a way that you can set it to be just by title instead of by title and format. I'd have to just double check and do a quick deep dive. We have really curtailed our spending on audiobooks, physical audiobooks. Our overdrive spending is ridiculous. But I know that's been a problem in the past. So honest to goodness, what I usually do is I'll take a pass through what I'm ordering and just try to make sure that everything looks right. Like if I'm like, oh, that's a CD or an MP3. Like I've gotten that tricked on Baker more than once where it's like an MP3 and I'm like, what year is this? So basically it's just a matter of really paying attention, unfortunately. And I think the same basically goes for Ingram, I would say, but I believe there is a way that you can limit it to just title instead of title format. So yeah. Issue is we order library bound versus hardcover. Oh yeah, that is a pain in the arse. Sorry to put it so blunt, but it's true. The library bound editions are tough, man. Amy says B&T just updated that when you're looking at the item, the alt formats tab turns yellow, and that means you've already ordered it in a different format. Amy, we should have had you help us on this talk, girl. Come on, next time. Yeah, so it seems like B&T has kind of come up with the answer to that, and I think something similar happens on iPage as well, but I just don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to look into that and I'll add it. I'm probably going to send you guys a bunch of notes that are just like contact infos and websites that people have mentioned and so on and so forth. Any other questions, comments? Kurt, is anyone using BroDart for processed materials? We had some preliminary discussions at ALA that sounded good. So that's funny, actually. I've been talking to, I believe his name is Bennett over at BroDart, and I'm interested in this myself. We haven't used it yet. And from what I gather, there doesn't seem to be a huge contingent of New Jersey libraries using them yet, but interested to see if for no other reason, then maybe they'll get our stuff on the street dates. Maybe. Who knows? So that's kind of a we'll find out and report back situation, I would say. And Matt and I were discussing because when I had reached out to Ingram, they were immediately like, do you guys want us to come to your meeting? And I was like, well, it's Tuesday and the meeting's on Thursday, so nah. But we're thinking about maybe having like a vendors meetup, like a Zoom call with a rep from B&T, a rep from Ingram and Amazon and BroDart, and just sort of being able to like hash out our questions. So that's something that we're possible fall question marks, maybe late fall. We'll kind of see how the schedules work out. But I would be interested in seeing all of the different ones. Oh, thanks, Risa. It is a great idea. You're right. Um, poor Matt, I texted him at like 9 o'clock at night and was like, so do we want these guys at our meeting? And then he was like, I don't think so. I was like, correct. Okay. This is how the sausage gets made, baby. You want to know about Member Services Committee? This is it.
We need
It's
to
it's
bash
great.
them first, and then we'll have them come to the meeting.
Well, I said it not so many words. I was like, so this is kind of like I have a very good relationship with my Ingram rep. She's a sweetheart. So I was like, this is kind of a bitch sesh, honestly. And then like, we'll get to you guys later.
Well, tailing
Any,
on that, I'm guessing the answer that is no one is using Brodar at the moment,
it
or
seems like
and
it.
because my other question was going to be to add to the group, has anyone like moved over to a third vendor as their primary source of books, processed or unprocessed? And I'm guessing no. I did get a promotional email from Amazon the other day. I don't know if anyone else got it. They are obviously launching this service. It didn't note anything about processing. I didn't really look into it. I was curious if anybody had any information on that. We'll look into it obviously and try to bring it for our next session. But I was curious if anyone's made that jump to any third vendor, and I'm guessing the answer is no.
So far, it doesn't
Mark.
seem like it. I spoke to Amazon. Oh, Kurt's using Barnes and Noble. That's awesome. Maybe you could pop on just, oh, but they don't
They
offer
don't do
processing.
processing.
Fair.
Okay. That was
When
going to be my
it's
yeah.
when I spoke to Amazon, I was asking them about the discount because that really is kind of the soup and nuts, right? That's the reason that we need distributors, and they have a matching discount to both Ingram and B&T. So that is something. I don't know about the processing. I have a meeting set up with them actually for next week, just for us to, so I can kind of report back on that too. Paramus is using B&T and Ingram and sometimes Amazon. Yeah, I think that's kind of the boat we're all in, where it's like these are the three. Is anybody else using anything besides those big three besides Kurt? And Kurt, I'd be interested to hear about your Baker and Taylor, I mean your Barnes and Noble experience too, just in general, because could always use an extra.
So we started using them last year, I want to say, at the request of our children's youth services staff. We don't use them a lot, but the things that we've ordered have come in relatively quickly. Of course, they don't offer processing, so that's a little bit of a barrier for us since most of our materials do come pre-processed. But the fill rates seem to be good. I don't have any hard numbers in front of me regarding fill rates and street dates, but generally speaking, we do use them for backup, and we are happy with them in that capacity.
Awesome. That's great. See, it's like just good to know that there's some other stuff out there that you can use if you're in a pinch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, gang. Do we have any other questions, comments, insults, creative or otherwise?
Or any workarounds you've come up with, right? Or what you're doing at your library that's not already been discussed, right? A combination of, again, Baker and Taylor, Ingram, and Amazon seems to be, that's what we're doing here at Ramsey. And processing is a barrier for us too. You know, we generally need it, so it is tricky. Oh, looks like if there information on a rep for B&N, if Kurt has that information.
Yeah,
Not sure.
and I'm also gonna throw the two reps from Ingram in here as well. Yeah, now you guys just get to hear me type. It's very exciting. All right, Lisa says, I'm playing right now with the alt formats on B&T, and it also turns red when another format's in cart. Good to know. And then I guess this one's more for Kurt, which is heard about this version of B&N for institutions called classwork. Is that what you're using? Okay, the answer was yes. I like that game. I really do. These are the two reps that I work with at Ingram, if anybody's interested. Also, if anybody would like a very overview of the Ingram iPage platform, I'm happy to do that. I know people have big feelings about platforms.
Hey,
All
Art.
right, we have yeah.
Sorry, this is just a question better asked audio rather than chat.
Mhm,
We actually, Mawa started talking with Ingram a couple of years ago, and we walked
mhm.
away from those conversations because our experience onboarding with pre-processing was just so bad. It wasn't just,
Really?
yeah, it wasn't, it was the form, but also the people behind the scenes. It wasn't Doug, it was somebody else behind the scenes.
Okay.
Um, we just walked away from the conversations. Who are you speaking with behind the scenes with setting up your processing? Is that,
So at the time that I set up my processing, it was a different person who's since moved up in the company, actually.
uh-oh,
But the two folks I've been working with are Aaron Egger and Charles Ray. Whenever I've had things come up, questions and things like that. I've also talked to Doug quite a bit over the course of
yeah.
years.
Who
Just
was it
to
that, yeah, if you don't mind me asking, or if you want to just put this in as a text,
let's see. Hold on one second. I never delete emails, thank goodness. Ain't that grand. We are going back to 2020. You guys can chat amongst yourselves for a moment if you want. Somebody has a question about large print. Jessica, do you want to take that?
Yeah, let me see. Okay, so question about large print books with Baker and Taylor. Some large print books you want to order, but they don't get discounted. I was under the impression that they all get discounted. I haven't seen that. We do also order a lot of our large print books through Gale Thorndike, but we don't get processing through them. Um, I know that some large print books, the published date might be a little different than the street date for the regular print. Maybe that could be it too if you're not receiving it on time. But does anybody else have any experience with that? Oh, Marianne, if you're speaking, you're muted. You're still muted if you're.
Okay. Paramus orders some of the large print through Thorndike, just like you do, and Centerpoint. And by going through Thorndike and Centerpoint, you do get discounts. But right now, Thorndike is having problems because they've just changed to 2 new computer systems at the same time. So we've been having some problems with them. But it's the transition, you know. It depends on how you're willing to order, how many titles you're willing to order from Centerpoint, how big a discount you can get. Thorndike is basically 20% unless unless they have a sale.
All right, so that was large print. I will say that we've been ordering a lot of our video games from Amazon rather than from Midwest. We just seem to have better luck with Amazon carrying better titles, better, more popular titles. So that's something to consider, although that really doesn't have to do with our print media. Trying to think, is there anything else, Jessica, that you want to hit on?
No, I think you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ingram also supplies video games.
Awesome. And
Great.
Phil from Hoboken just sent us Crimson Ink for video games. So these are all like, it's good. It's so good to get together because now we can have like a kind of a running list of places we can go. All right. So I hope you guys feel edified. Amazon for video games and anime manga. Yeah, the manga is hard to get unless you have somebody on staff who like knows what they're doing with it. I thankfully have one of my part-timers is studying for MLS and she's going to be a YA librarian, says like, you do manga. I have no idea what I'm doing. So that is nice. So that's interesting. Yeah, for video games, anime and manga. All right, do we have any final thoughts, gang? Anything anybody is like burning to bring up or wants to? It's like the airing of the grievances here. So like, you've got something you want to get off your chest about ordering. I, for one, hate sticky Mylar covers. Those ones you have to put over the paperbacks make me insane. I just wind up sticking them to myself and the table, and it's fun. It's good times. All right, so I'm not seeing any further questions. It's 11:45, so that's a 45 minutes of goodness from the Member Services Committee. I want to thank you guys all for coming today, for spending your time with us, and for listening to us talk about what is a very important thing, but is also maybe one of the more boring topics we've had to have just in general. We usually like to keep it pretty loosey-goosey, but this has been really interesting for me. And what I'm going to do is compile the vendor emails and addresses, and the alternate routes, the places that you guys are getting other stuff from that aren't the big three. And if anybody has questions or comments or thinks of something, later, just shoot one of us an email. We're all pretty friendly. And I especially want to thank Jessica for hanging with us today. She's awesome. And gave us some good background onto B&T, and especially because Livingston is such a big library. I mean, Woodridge, we're teensy. So it's nice to hear it from both a small and a large library who are doing volume versus, quantity. So interesting stuff, gang. So if anybody has questions, comments, criticisms, just email us, call us, smoke signal, whatever you do, carrier pigeon. All right. Thank you so much for attending. You guys have a fantastical weekend. And we'll see you soon. I'm going to hang on this call for a minute so I can talk to Matt and Darlene, but everybody else is welcome to hop off.
Okay.
Up to you guys. I mean, Jessica, if you want